All right, everybody, we're going to jump in here to a new video from EVE Online. As some of you know, I've been playing EVE Online a little bit lately. Just came out with a new video on the new Epic arc that new players can try as well. And it's an MMO that I've been playing on and off since 2005 and been having a fantastic time every time I go back in. So when I heard that the HUD is going to be changing, well, that's not small. That's not a small thing in this universe. By the way, guys, I am not affiliated with CCP or EVE Online whatsoever. I'm just a fan of the MMO, but I do have a recruit link for you down below in the description that'll give you a head start to your training. So if it looks like a game you want to try out, click that. It'll give you a head start. All right, let's get into it, guys, and see what the HUD is going to look like in EVE Online. I can't believe I just said that. I've been playing the game for so long. There hasn't been a lot of changes to the HUD. So anyway, here we go.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm FCB, and today we're going to talk about the HUD. Today with me, I have FC Hot Pepper. Not Hot Pants, and FC Unison.
Hello.
Welcome, guys.
Thanks. Thank you.
So before we start, I want to address the elephant in the room, so to speak. We're going to be talking about something players care a great deal about, the HUD. They always get worried when Fenris touches something that's so integral to the game.
I'm already worried, guys. I'm already worried, and I'll tell you why. Let me tell you why I'm worried. I'm worried because EVE is a very complicated yet straightforward game when it comes to the user interface. I really enjoy scanning. I enjoy how the market works. I enjoy how the HUD for the ship is, the layout. My primary concern right now is that it's going to look more like a console game, and I don't want that to happen because I don't really particularly enjoy console style graphics on deep, meaningful MMOs. That's just my personal opinion, but I'm not going to say that that's what's going to happen. Let's just see what happens.
So we're going to try and set their minds to ease, talk a little bit about what it is that we're doing, what we're looking at changing, what we want to update. And I want to remind people that we touched the overview with Photon UI, and we got all kinds of utility, like multiple overviews out of that. We got the 2D map out of touching up the map things. These are things that people sometimes say, hey, why are you even messing with this?
You know, when it comes to the map, so I haven't really played around with the new 2D map, but the functionality of the map in general in EVE Online is top tier. I'm not even kidding. Top tier.
So let's talk about what it is that you guys are looking at with the UI, specifically the medallion and the HUD. Where would you like to start?
I think it's also, thanks for giving us the context. And I think it's also good to talk a little bit about just where we're at in the process and just why we're reaching out now. So basically, the team has been working on the HUD for some time right now. We've done some user testing on the designs that we have. We did do a presentation at FanFest and also had like a booth there so people could come over and try things out. We are starting production right now on the HUD. So some of the designs and changes that we have is like being worked on right now. We don't have anything to show that's in client or anything like that. So we want to just take you a little bit behind the scenes and show you the designs that we have. Talk through them, talk about the decisions behind them. And basically just start getting feedback super early, even before we have anything in client and just share it with the community.
Please don't make it look like a console. Like, okay, I get it. Consoles are an important part of gaming, huge part of gaming. In fact, if you look at the ecosystem, the vibrant ecosystem of the PlayStation Network, in particular the PS5, it's gargantuan. It dwarfs Xbox. And then, of course, you have Steam and Steam Decks and the new Steam machine. So I get it. There's this push for this kind of like console-like experience where we don't own anything. We just open the console and go to the game that we want to play and hope that the internet's working. I get it. Now, when it comes to an MMO, you need internet. Obviously, it's an MMO. But one thing I don't like about the console style graphics is they tend to be very like, I don't know, boxy. And I don't know, it just doesn't feel as intuitive. You know what I mean? But I'm not gonna pass judgment yet. Not gonna pass judgment yet. Let's check it out.
You mentioned it's super early. This isn't something that's coming out, a major update or anything like that. This is work in progress, possibly for the winter expansion. Is that correct?
Yes. So we're aiming for, exactly, the winter expansion coming around that time. So usually when we talk about expansion, it's a period.
Yeah.
So it could be like when the expansion releases or a little bit after or.
So the reason we're kind of showing this early is because we want player feedback. You guys had a booth at FanFest. You were showing early versions of this. And you want to get as much feedback from players possibly now. If they care about certain things, you want to hear it so you can incorporate it into the designs.
Yeah, absolutely. We started off just by doing like a whole bunch of research interviews, both with new and veteran players. Had multiple sessions with the CSM to talk this over, try to pool ideas, figure out where the issues lie. Is it exactly that we want to fix? And then we've gone through like a couple of iterations of ideas, tried to flesh out the good ones, and then tested that again with a new group. And like the latest one we went through was at FunFest. And now,
like, I mean, if I had a complaint about the HUD, I would say that my biggest gripe with the HUD as it is right now, sometimes it feels a little delayed in responsiveness. Now, I'm not talking about when I'm flying the ship. I'm more talking about when I'm in the station, opening up menus, going to the market, checking orders, opening up my skill training, stuff like that. But like, I mean, when I'm flying the ship and I'm fighting rats, or if I'm doing PvP, or if I'm mining or doing exploration, I don't really feel any kind of delay pressing my shortcuts to use my mods on my ship, for example, right? And I really appreciate the way that you can see the cooldowns live on the icons as you're flying and piloting the ship. But I will say there is a little delay on some of the user interface.
now we think we're kind of ready for a wider audience. So we want to bring this to the feature previews.
So you guys have something to show us. It's not going to be in client, but we have something like a design page. We can kind of go through a few slides.
Yeah.
I think we should pull that up.
All right, here
Let's
we go.
see.
Here we go.
First of all, we're talking about the HUD itself. That is the medallion. It's the medallion is what we call the capacitor, the shield armor, and
Right, exactly.
all of the buttons that you're interacting with your ship. That is what we're going to be focusing on today.
Yeah, of course, like a lot of things can be, like considered part of the HUD.
Yeah.
And we have brought like a much wider
I'm nervous.
perspective to like the HUD as a whole in the game. But for the purposes of this conversation, we're only looking at the status
I got me a bad feeling in my gut. I got me a bad feeling.
medallion down here with the modules and the functions adjacent to that. So this is just looking at, the current iteration, what we have today and everybody's familiar with. But with this new iteration, it will look something like this.
Okay.
And we just want to take you kind of through these things step by step.
Okay, hold on, guys, hold on. Let's just go back to this one. By the way, the stuff on the left side of your shields and your armor and your hull and all that kind of stuff, this is like ship stuff like cargo. There's some scanning icons here. There's a tactical overlay here. I think the A might even be autopilot. I don't know. So not a lot of like necessary things while you're live and in battle and stuff like that. This is obviously all of the stuff that's fitted on your ship. High slots, medium slots, low slots. Now, the difference that I saw between the two pictures primarily is just in this area. So let's go back. Let's just take a look at this for a second. Stylistically. Oh, interesting. Hold on. Did you see that? There's a little mini map radar thingy down here. Interesting. Obviously, we still got our highs, our mids, and our lows. Not sure how this is going to work. They'll probably explain it. I'm looking over here. It looks like they've gotten rid of some of the redundant icons that you don't really need while you're flying around. Interesting. Okay, interesting. I'm not gonna cast shade on it right now. Let's just watch.
It will look something like this.
Oh, I just noticed all the little icons by the radar. Look at that. Don't know what those do yet. I don't know. Visually, okay, I'm just going to say this right off the rip. I like this idea, but I don't know if I like it visually there. Something's making this look off balance to me, and I can't quite put my finger on it from a design perspective. I don't know. I'd have to see kind of like the dimensions and where everything, where's the center. This looks like it should be the exact same size of circle. Maybe we just need some more visual weight over here to compensate for this one. Because right now the eyes are getting pulled very much so in this direction, which is throwing the whole experience off balance slightly. I'm not going to say it's like completely off balance, but it's definitely a little too intense. Because you got to remember, guys, when you're playing an MMO game and you're doing a long session, to have something feel off balance is not something that you want from a design perspective. Anyway, let's get back into it.
And we just want to take you kind of through these things step by step. So this is the new HUD Medallion. We're taking the health bars and making them proportional. So you can, at a glance, see what type of tank your ship has. This will only be available for your ship. Looking at enemy ships, they will not have this proportionality in there. But this will help you to gauge exactly, like the exact status of your health points. Over here, we have the new overload interface. This is an idea that we're trying out to give overloading more real estate on screen, making it more discoverable and easier to interact with. No longer like clicking that tiny green notch at the top of the mod.
I like that. I've always felt as an old player, someone who's played the game for a while, like when they came out with the overload mechanic, I just hardly ever bothered with it. I really did. Like, I mean, if it was something like, you're trying to get away from a ganker and you got to get to the gate and click on the overload on your afterburner, okay, fine. But like, I mean, generally as a game mechanic, it's never something that comes to the forefront of my mind when I'm doing stuff, because it's like they said, it's visually not there on your screen. It's a little thin green bar on your items. So this is a good idea. I like that.
So it's easier to click and to interact with.
I think also if you just go back up to the original one that we have. Yeah, so I think also just one of the things that we have for the medallion, if you just talk about the medallion
we'll call this one Old Faithful. Even though it's had some upgrades over the years.
For a little bit. Because this is a really like iconic design and something that we didn't want to just completely redo or change. We wanted to have the circular part in there, and also especially the capacitor, which is like super iconic, and this is something that came up.
I know that during the process you guys had all kinds of different...
If you guys want to make some efforts in the HUD area, if anybody's watching this, I would recommend throwing some themes up online that people can use for their overview, right? That'd be cool. It's something that I always dread having to deal with whenever I have to reinstall the game from scratch and I don't have backups of my overview, is resetting all the filters and everything for my overview. Because the overview is a very powerful aspect of the user interface. It is so cool. When you get things set up just the way you want them, it is like mwah, perfection. I'm not even kidding. Like, it's the best overview in any MMO game that I've ever played. Just like the map. Like, if you guys dig deep into the EVE map and what you can look at and all the data it can give you, you're going to be blown away. Absolutely blown away.
Directions you were seeing what people thought about. There were ideas of like a very different looking capacitor, not a circular one. There were just all kinds of things that you were testing and seeing what players liked and what they didn't like. But there were also things that you run into where players, especially new players, they didn't know how to like stop and go maximum speed on their ship. They didn't know if modules were turned on or their states.
That's a tutorial issue, guys. Straight up tutorial issue. Yes, the user interface is going to play a role in that, but that's also the tutorial.
There were things that you noticed with newer players that were problematic, but then there's also things for veteran players that we currently can't do with this setup that we might be able to do with the future setup of the medallion.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
Yeah, like telegraphing in general was an issue. So that was like a big topic for us.
Yeah.
But we were also looking at, what is it that we can bring to this design that will really elevate it above the old one.
There's also one thing about...
I should probably subscribe to the channel. Been playing for so long.
Really interesting seeing people playing EVE for the first time and trying to like grasp everything and understand functionalities. And sorry, if you go back to the this one, we're grouping together a lot of like different concepts in the same like component basically, and we have them in also the same shape language, so it can be really difficult to read. If you just look at the medallion, we have the shield, armor and hull, and then we have the capacitor there, we have speed, and we have the overloading indicators there. So it's all like in the circular component. So it is a really good rule to group things that belong together in a different manner. So that's why, like in the new version of it, we still keep the circular thing, but we're, for example, pulling out the speed controls, and we're taking the the OLED indicators and creating it in a hexagon shape instead of a circular one to create separation.
Yeah. Before we go all the...
I get that. You're separating some of the elements because there was so many crammed into the circle. So more visual information you can access quickly.
way into looking at each part, I do want to stress that all functionality will stay the same, even if we're going to talk about overloading. That is the overload buttons themselves. You can still shift-click modules and overload them and overheat the way that you're doing it currently.
Yes.
So we're not taking any functionality away,
but
we're adding... A lot of newer players didn't know that overheating was even a thing.
Yeah. And as an older player who's been on and off since 2005, and there's been a lot of off time, guys, I'm not going to lie. Like, I mean, but I always come back, and I always have a great time when I come back, which is fantastic. But like he said, a lot of players didn't even know about it. I knew about it and hardly ever used it.
Exactly.
Or how to do it. That little tiny green button at the top.
Like I've got nanite paste in my cargo hold for my exploration ship. I've had 50 nanite paste in that cargo hold for years, and I've never used one time.
Some of them didn't know that was a clickable thing. They didn't know they don't look at hotkeys and shift clicking things, and you've added more ways to interact with it, basically.
But I'm gonna give you developers a challenge, okay? And if any of you guys are watching this that aren't a developer, recommend it on a forum or whatever. But really sink your teeth, because I feel like there's an opportunity here for EVE Online to really explode in growth because of a sheer lack of complexity and depth and fun in a lot of other MMOs right now. There's an opportunity here to really take it up a notch when it comes to the introduction of new players to the game. And I'm not talking about the systems like the air program and all that kind of stuff. I'm talking about the tutorial. I was initially, when I came back to EVE, I was going to do a little video on the tutorial of EVE, and I got 10 minutes into it. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that again. I'm just going to make a video on something new that I'm doing in the game to let people know that I'm back in the game. But it would be cool if you had like a tutorial where you create an instance for the player where they do have to slow their ship down, where they do have to make their ship go faster, where they do have to overheat an item, where they do have to do this, where they do have to do that, where they have to align to something. Like get something fun where it can be small. It can be small. It doesn't have to be in the grand big space with everybody else around. It could be like a very small instance thing, kind of like the new Epic arc that you guys created, which is still a little glitchy, but it's still pretty good. But there's a huge opportunity there.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
And it's a really cool gameplay that we want to surface more to the players. So
yeah.
Let's dive into the first part there. You showed us the capacitor still looks like a circle. It still has that same, I would expect, the same functionality where as it depletes, it'll lower the circle like it does now. But the shield, armor, and hull are no longer triple stacked on top of each other. This is showing the raw hit points off the ship. This ship clearly is a shield tanked ship.
I think one thing that can be highlighted here is that we want to have more hover states and telegraphing of like information for like what is potentially about to happen. Like if you're gonna boost your cap, let's say, like then there's gonna be like a hover state. If you hover the cap boosters, the capacitor will highlight how much exactly will be filled up by engaging this
functionality that doesn't currently exist.
Exactly.
So you could hover.
I like that idea. I like the idea of like a hover over the mod and see how it's going to impact with an overlay. What I don't like what they've talked about so far is that we've squished shield, armor, and hull into something visually here. So I'm hoping that there's a way to differentiate. There's got to be, because you have shield tanks, you have armor tanks, and come on, I'm sure some people have hull tanks for some fun at some point.
Over like a micro warp drive, and it tells you how much capacitor it's going to take from your cap pool.
Exactly, stuff like that. And the health bar should have something similar.
By the way, guys, if you've stuck into the video so far and you've never played EVE Online before, I will say this. It's the world's largest open sandbox PvP/PvE game in the world. You're pretty much completely safe in the starting area. They've created a new system with several systems connected to each other. I can't remember what it's called off the bat, even though I just went through the Epic arc the other day. Exordium or something like that. You're 100% safe in there. Once you get out of there, you're in safer space, okay? Safe plus ER. safer, which is called high sec. People can still gank you there, but they're going to face some repercussions for doing so. But if you're flying around something nice and shiny that they got the time and the will to destroy, they could do it. But you're safer, okay? There isn't really a police force in those high-sec systems. It's more of a force that comes in and exacts punishment on the players that did something after the fact. So you're not going to get saved by it. Then we go into low-sec space where people can actually kill you without facing those repercussions. They take a security status hit and eventually they can't even go to high-sec anymore. But in those low-sec spaces, you have opportunities to make a lot more profit and money off of stuff. So there's an incentive for you to get out. Then they have what's called null-sec, which is 0.0 space where corporations and alliances can actually own parts of the game and fight for parts of the game. And there's even more opportunities for money out there. And then on top of that, you have an intricate wormhole system that connects different spaces together. And you can live in wormholes and like make money in wormholes. So it's a huge, amazing game. It's been bringing me back several times since 2005. And if you've never tried it out, I've got a recruit link in the description for you to get a head start on the game, which will get you into better ships a little bit faster at no charge to you, no commitment to you. And if you decide to upgrade, I get a little in-game perk. So give it a shot if you haven't played it yet. By the way, like I said in the beginning of the video, I am not affiliated with CCP Games or EVE Online in any way. All right, let's get back into it.
Happening. But yeah.
Let's scroll down a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's good to take a look at the...
So here we have the capacitor itself.
Yeah, here's the capacitor itself.
I like that.
And nothing drastically different here. This visualization is slightly different than the one that exists currently. I think there's like a...
So this is full as we get down from full to low. This is your recharge, because in EVE Online, you can fit your ships with things that help your capacitor recharge, because your items, your mods, drain your capacitor, right? Like if you're pumping out your shield regeneration, you're using capacitor, things like that. So if you're in the red, this puppy's never going to go up. It's just going to go down until it reaches bitterness of 0. You know what I'm saying? But if you're in the positive, this could be slowly going up. You know what I mean?
You know, if we refer to these as pizza slices, I think there's like a couple of more slices in this one. And this is just like visualizing how
I like that. I'm going to skip past.
If we scroll down a little bit more, this is the shield, armor, and hit point states.
Oh, okay, that's what I'm interested in.
This is raw hit points, right? This is not effective hit points. It doesn't take into account the resists. This is just if I put a bunch of extenders on my ship, this part would be bigger, the shield part. Is that correct?
Yes, raw hit points.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on a second. So are we saying that this is shield, this is armor, and this is hull? That would make sense to me.
You know, we had like a whole conversation about...
it is. Because look at this example here. So this would be how low your shields are. Your structure has taken this much damage, or your armor, sorry, and then your hull is untouched at this point. Because sometimes damage can bleed through the shields if I'm not mistaken. Okay.
Trying to display the other part.
Effective hit points.
Yeah, but the level of complexity in there just felt too great, at least for this iteration. We'd be absolutely willing to look at it at a later point, but right now we're just like trying to do solid groundwork and then gather more feedback and do further iterations.
I do think that the players will probably want us to do that. We would probably want to see the hit points change as they get links and they start to get more command bursts and they get tankier and tankier and tankier.
Yeah.
Excellent idea. Absolutely would love to see that.
But this is like a base version of, we're splitting it up. It's no longer just these 3 lines that all look the same.
Yep.
Now at a glance, you know exactly where your tank is. I mean, you kind of know already.
Well, to be fair, don't be too critical on that, because those 3 lines made a lot of sense when you're looking at them as you're fighting, and they were well designed.
But this is a cool way to display how much of your raw hit points is in a certain part of your ship.
Just from our observations, we saw that it was really helpful to be able to see at a glance how you have distributed everything and fitted your ship.
I like it. Let's scroll down a little bit more. So this is the speedometer.
Yeah.
You have moved this from the bottom part to the left side of the capacitor.
Yeah.
What is the reason for that?
So that was kind of like a thing that we did really late in our progress. For a very long time, we were trying to solve it inside of the medallion itself.
If this is a clickable and hold line where you can click and hold and move that white line along here, that's pretty cool. I like that.
The major issue with the speedometer that exists today is that, you know, we have the minus for full stop and the plus for full speed, and they feel like volume controls.
Dudes, I just had a crazy idea. What if in the future some things in EVE Online were voice command? You know what I mean? Could you imagine? You'd be like your own like captain. You'd be like, ship speed 80%, and that's all you have to do is just say ship speed 80%, and then this will react instantaneously in the game. That'd be funny. That not only funny, but that'd be fun. Like obviously you have the ability to do both, like click or whatever. But if you got the time and you got the setup and you want to just give your commands, that would be so cool.
You know, It was kind of like maybe like a silly choice of icons for the functions that they represent. But the biggest issue was that the functionality of being able to click the meter to set an exact speed, that was completely hidden.
A lot of people don't know that you can click that blue line and just say, hey, I want to set to whatever speed. But it's very...
You can click it, but it's not very, I don't know. It's okay, but it's not very good.
You kind of just have to guess what you're clicking at. Whereas here you've got kind of more of an easier readout. You're trying to set yourself a certain speed. If you're trying to match someone else, or if you're trying to keep up with someone.
Which can be crucial functionality, like you're flying in a fleet. You want to match speed with your fleet mates, and then this is just like a thing that you should be able to discover. Like you should feel agency about flying your ship. You know, like you should understand that you can control.
I've been in many fleets over the years and some really big battles, and I've never had an FC ask me to set my speed to a percentage of my max. Usually it was just like a line, stop, wait, that kind of stuff. But maybe this will open that up. I don't know. Different ships have different speeds. So I guess if you're in a gang that all have the same ships and the same fit, then yeah, that could make sense, I guess.
The ship. And just calling out these actions more, giving them more real estate on the screen.
All right, boys, line to the sun, 70% speed. Unleash the heavy missiles.
We felt it was like the right move to achieve this, you know. And this is just like showing the different states of this meter and what parts of it are clickable and what the hover state for setting the exact speed.
I'm not a fan of that color. I don't know if that's actually the color that they're thinking of using. Just because, like I said, like if we go back here, I'm not going to go all the way back, but you know, the visual weight of the HUD is off a little bit.
We even talked about being able to click this number and just like input an exact speed that you want to fly at.
Be very useful in certain scenarios, like if you're flying a command destroyer and you don't want to, when you click the MJD, you burn really quickly away. It'd be really cool to just set the speed at a certain thing that you know your fleet's flying at, so you don't.
That's cool. I never thought about that. I've never flown big ships like that. I am totally a battleship, heavy assault cruiser, frigate, cruiser, mining ship kind of guy. I've never got into the capitals at all. I'm not a capital skilled pilot.
Outrun them. So this kind of extra interactability would be really, really cool.
I think it's also goes into, because we're thinking about the game feel in general, and just how you control your ship.
Yeah.
And like controlling the speed of your ship is a cool thing. So like let's just allow it to be a bit more, like, you know, have more control over it, and it's not a nicer experience than clicking the small part in the...
Okay, guys, I'm going to throw this out here. So if they're going to do this where you can really precisely set your speed, I want to see a really good impact in the game on things like weapon damage and such. So for example, if you're orbiting somebody at, let's say, 500 meters, there should be a tangible reason for me to modify my speed accordingly, depending on the weapons that they're using against me. Now, I'm not an expert at all in EVE Combat. I'm just getting back into it again. And they've added this other dimension to the overview that I haven't quite learned yet. But if they're going to do this, and there's room for them to make this even more impactful on combat, I think that's the way to go.
Yeah. Will this dynamically adjust if you overheat your prop mod, for example? If you get links to go faster?
Yes.
You get webbed? Does this adjust?
You will see these gauge lines like fly past. You turn on your prop mod, and then like they will squish down, and really give you an impression of like a sudden speed increase. And that feeds into the game feel conversation as well, just like this telegraphing excitement, making the HUD feel more alive.
I would appreciate to still see my particular speed setting. So kind of like an overlay showing the ups and downs would be great.
But you always see very quickly at a glance how fast you're actually going. And
yes, the number is always there.
It also makes sense to change the buttons to go max speed or to stop. Because like you said, a pause button, a lot of new players don't even know, like, oh, does this stop my ship? What does that actually mean when I click this?
Yeah. We observed people like repeatedly clicking the plus to increase their speed. Like it's a volume control.
Yeah, like a volume control.
Something like that.
Yeah. And now we're on to module states.
Right. There's I guess like a lot to unpack with this. But I think generally, like this came down to telegraphing as well. We wanted it to feel more tactile. And very early on, we were thinking about like a switch, like you turn it on. Like
I'm going to skip past this section. This looks pretty self-explanatory to me. I like it already. You got different cycle images. You got your reloading stages. You got the cycling stages. Let's see what's next. Well, it looks like this is a big part of it. Let's just watch it.
Currently, the module lights up a little bit and you get the cycling animation flying in the background, but they aren't very visually discernible from one another besides that. And if overloading, then the green notch turns ever so slightly more green.
Yeah.
And you don't really, like it's really easy to overlook that it's being overloaded until like it starts taking damage.
Yeah.
So we were looking at these issues, just can we do like a pass on these and clear up the UX language around it, make it more clearly different. An animation, and this design is a little outdated. This is something we showed at FanFest. We received feedback that it felt like maybe a little bit cluttered, so we cleaned up the design a bit.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they'll be able to dial that in. They'll be able to dial that in very quickly from feedback from people. I'm going to skip past these little icons here. Those are small potatoes. They'll mean a lot, but they'll get a lot of feedback throughout the process.
I like it. What did you scroll down to there before? You went down to, this is the overload interface. So
all right.
You can overload entire racks currently. You can overload all of your high slots or all your mid slots. I think a lot more experienced players will just overheat one individual module depending on what they need. But there are times where you just want to overheat the entire mid slot rack that you have. This will still work the same way.
Now, I do remember one mechanic from overheating is that sometimes it's in your best interest to overheat multiple modules in a stack so that the damage is spread out or something over the different modules instead of all just zeroing in on one.
Not overheating where the modules are, it's still high slots or mid slots or low slots, right?
Yes, this essentially works like 98% exactly the same way that it does today. A couple of issues, that we were looking at, like one was like the discoverability of the overloading functionality. The second part of the issue was like just the amount of functionality on the module button itself was just, we felt like too much. It was too big of an ask. If we were to make like a solid design for it, we needed to take something out. So we took like the overloading functionality of the module and created this new overloading interface. And you engage it essentially.
Sorry, just also to add to it, there is, if you think about the overloading today, it is split between three places basically. It's on the module button, like you said, and you have to like click it in a certain way to activate it there. Of course, you can use the shift button to activate it like that. And then you have the rack buttons there, so they're really small. But they are there, and you can, like I said, you can overload the entire rack. And then you have the indicator in the circle as well. So we're also just taking these three elements and taking them and combining them into one, so it's not spread out throughout the whole UI.
Okay.
Right, exactly. So like clicking this button will activate the overload interface. It reveals the rack overload buttons and the module buttons, they swap state. Now clicking the button doesn't activate the module, it activates the overloading of the module.
Cool.
So it's like preheating it.
Yes,
the
exactly.
Next cycle it's on, it'll have an overheated cycle. Yeah,
exactly. And then, hovering a rack overload button highlights all the modules that will be overloaded by clicking it. So if you've edited your layout at all, it'll reveal like exactly what will get heat.
Yeah.
And an example of overloaded modules here. By doing this change, we're just hoping to make it more clear how this works, what you're doing, less chance of accidental misclicks, and of course, shift click will still work exactly the way that it does today, and keyboard shortcuts.
I know that keeping old functionality is like at the forefront of your mind when it comes to these things.
That's good. I like that. Very straightforward. I like how it kind of changes. I'm just going to jump ahead a little bit here to this section.
Exactly. And
I saw something about drones.
Inventory. Yeah.
These things. But we haven't talked about anything new that is possible with touching up the HUD and touching up the medallion and these things. I wonder, is the next thing going to talk about?
It's the next
one
after this one, yeah. So this is just like the how we're representing the inventory right now. You have this bar, how full is your inventory, and you'll be able to click this and pick like is it your like ore hold or something that you want to display.
And you can see how much is in there as well, how full it is, kind of like you can with the ore bay currently.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is a new thing, the minimap.
So what you've taken here is the sensor overlay that is usually around the medallion and kind of moved it to a separate thing. Talk to me about this minimap, because I know we talked about this back in a while ago.
Yeah.
And some people will see a lot of usability with just seeing the grid that you're on, but if you're in a 3D space and putting that onto a 2D surface has like limited usability in some cases, but you have some other ideas with this. First, just talk me through what you've done here.
Yeah, okay, there's like a lot.
I actually like this idea a lot. I'm excited to see this in game once it's refined.
A lot of stuff to unpack with this one, I guess. Like Unison touched on earlier, like we were looking at like the shape language of everything on the screen. Those buttons on the left of your medallion today, something that we commonly call like the utility buttons.
Yeah,
they
like the camera buttons and the
camera buttons.
Tactical over.
I'm just going to say this is awesome. I don't want to make this video too long. This is a great idea. Looking forward to see that refined. Probably one of the most exciting parts of this whole video, to be honest, from my perspective. And the overheating. It's like they're talking about some little stuff over here.
Talked about the filters, and then people get...
Then they get excited. They go, oh, okay.
Yeah, it was really cool to see.
So here's the other thing that we wanted to talk about. This is extra functionality that we mentioned at the start of the stream or video or whatever we're in here.
Yes. This is something that's completely new. Putting consumables...
A consumable slot on your overview. Not having to use consumables from your cargo hold constantly. Talk us through what this is.
It's essentially just that, like consumables in the HUD.
It's consumable icons. Great. That is awesome. Good to see that.
And then you have this certain set of boosters working all together. So you've made something designed-wise to take multiple boosters and put them into one slot. So you just click a thing?
Yeah.
How does that work?
So I like that.
Like you said, like you want to be able to take them all simultaneously, essentially, and you want it to happen as fast as possible.
Yeah.
And, that kind of means that if we're going to make this easier than the inventory, we can't really put individual boosters into the module tray where you have to, you click your keyboard, 4 different buttons to consume.
No, you don't want to have to click a bunch of different...
Yeah, that would take longer time.
Then just right-click consume all.
Exactly. So, we were thinking, can we have a smart system behind this? Not necessarily a great idea. And looking at it a little bit deeper, we realized that there's essentially...
They called it a booster bay.
Just 8 slots that are relevant in a battle situation. The slots are a little bit confusing, some are slot 1, some slot 3, and then suddenly slot 17.
Yeah.
I think this system is definitely a victim of iterations through the years.
This is a system that needs to be in the tutorial as well, to be honest, because I don't use a lot of boosters. I have used them though. They are important when you're doing certain things, especially when you're flying around with, in PvP, there were some cool boosters. Abyss, I think I used some, I can't remember, but having this as part of the tutorial would be great too.
Just without going back and cleaning it up a little. But what we're doing here is we're kind of just looking past this numbers of slots thing. So ships will have a new booster bay, and a booster bay will have 3 chutes where you have 8 slots, and you will be able to drag and drop these boosters into the slots. So
I like how they're doing this as a ship bay because it adds to the realism of you have to have your boosters in the ship. So it's not just like some esoteric thing where you're dragging boosters into hotkeys and you don't even have them on your physical body, but because you've got them hotkeyed and they're connected to some esoteric bank somewhere, you can use them in the middle of space. No, it's a very realistic approach where you have to load your ship with these boosters, which is fantastic. Great idea. Because before you'd have to just open up your inventory and use them from the ship inventory. This is so much better than that.
this is kind of like a step that you do before battle. You're planning out, like you have your fit planned out and you undock.
And that's a big part of the fun of EVE Online is fitting out your ships and your strategies and figuring out what boosters you want to use. It's all part of that strategic aspect of the game, which goes along with the, heart pounding action that you get into out there in PvP and PvE.
You organize your layout the way that you want it, and you will have planned your boosters as well. And you will maybe thinking about like, I'm going into a situation, it could pan out this way or pan out that way. So like you have shoot 1 prepped for option A, shoot 2 prepped for option B, and then like shoot 3 maybe.
All right, let's just bring this back from the beginning.
I think there's also because I know we're running up.
Like that idea is great. It's going to be refined a lot, but the basic skeletal structure of it is awesome.
Time would be cool to talk about the customizability of the HUD that we want to tackle. I think that's next, right? Yeah. So like these are all the elements combined together, and like we saw it in the beginning.
Okay, I'm going to say it again. This is off balance. There's something about it. I don't know if it's the colors or the bars being super bar heavy on this side. I don't know what it is. I think just the colors might help here a little bit. They're very intense and they're pulling tension. I know it's a very important part of your ship, but hey, these are important parts too. So it just feels a little off balance. Now, from a design perspective, guys, if you think about what you're looking at as a player, you're looking at your screen, you're looking at your monitor. If something's off balance by design, what ends up happening is it affects the way that you look at the screen, the degree of comfortability over time as you watch your movie or whatever. That's why they have things like the Dutch tilt in movies, where if somebody's having like distressful time in the movie, they'll do a Dutch tilt to make it look like things are a little bit more chaotic on the screen, but it ramps up your attention to that particular scene. And when it's off balance, it just kind of tweaks things. So I think they're going to have to spend a little bit of time just kind of making sure that they get the balance aspect of this done.
And you can see it here. But we are also thinking about, like, if you go to the next one, for example, you can turn on and off the sensor overlay like you can do today. But then you can also, if you go to the next one, if you don't want the main map, you can just take it away. And we're thinking about this as components. So like we've split it here, like you have the module components, medallion, speed, and so on. So we're thinking about this as you can like...
What you could do is maybe instead of having these shortcuts to your boosters here, maybe they're stacked vertical here beside this. Boonk, boonk, boonk. In a nice straight line to bring a bit more visual weight on this side. I don't know. I'm just throwing around ideas a little bit here. I do like the looks of this. And like I said, it could just be the intensity of the colors. I don't know.
Basically drag these things and move them around.
But something's there. Something's definitely there. It's off balance.
Where you see fit.
Currently, you can only move the entire thing to the top of the screen, or like they're all in one thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You're thinking of breaking this down so I can have my capacitor over here if I want, my speed right there, my modules next to the targets I'm shooting. And
ooh, that's cool. Break it apart. Now, how many new players are going to do that right off the rip, though? So the balance thing is still important. I do think the idea of just like piecemealing it out is fantastic. That's always good to have.
Exactly.
Break it up in a way if you want to do that.
Yeah. And we're basically in the beginning stages of how we want to customize this now. So I think it, like, one of the parts of like us showing this now is to get feedback from players on, like, if you have any ideas or some wants, what you want to be able to customize, then please let us know. Because, like,
All right, I'm going to end it there, guys. I've shared my feedback throughout the video. I'm curious to see what you think should be done, though. Drop a comment below on what you think they need to do when it comes to this HUD redesign. I think I feel a lot better now that I've watched the video. I was a little, I don't know, at the beginning because, you know, it's such an iconic design. It's been around since, you know, in different iterations, but the general premise has been around since 2005. That's a quarter of a century, guys. That's a quarter of a century. That's no joke. So I'm glad they're taking their time with this, and I would encourage them to take as long as they need to, because this is such a monumental change. Sounds kind of small on the surface because it's only one part of the HUD in general, but it's going to be a monumental change on the future impact on players. It's going to impact older players right off the rip. They're going to be like, what's going on? What's different here? How do I use this? Some people don't like change. So it's definitely a big thing. I'm glad they're taking their time. I would encourage them to roll out a lot of videos as they're doing this process to show this in action on their own testing, just so people can see and people can be kind of talk through it as it's coming. But overall, I'm very excited about this, actually. Looking forward to it. By the way, guys, like I said at the beginning, I am not affiliated. This is not an ad for EVE Online or CCP Games. This is just me who's enjoyed the game on and off since 2005. If you've never tried it out before, check out that link in the description. It's got the details down there. It's a great game to give a shot. Very, very complex, but also fun and simplistic in a lot of systems. So it's like the perfect union of complexity and simplicity, and it gets you in there. There's so many different levels. It's 100% player-driven economy across this huge space. Like it's pretty crazy. But thanks for sticking around so long to the end of the video, guys. Take care, stay classy. God bless.